as well. Nico Hulkenberg saying that he got caught out a bit. He talked to Lando in the cool-down room, but it did change the course of this race. It did decide, I think, this race, although, we'll never know whether Lando would have had the opportunity to get past or not. And it has absolutely thrown wide open this Drivers' Championship once again. And we've narrowed it down to a very small distance between the two drivers going into part two.
David, are you suggesting that it was done to narrow up the championship and make things more exciting?
No, I'm suggesting that he was banged to rights and it was the right penalty. And I think in the cold light of day, Oscar and McLaren might feel the same. We'll talk to them when we get to Spa. But the consequences of it are there's only 8 points between the drivers now. And I think going into the second part of this season, when McLaren's so far ahead in that Constructors' Championship, you cannot expect teams to be throwing upgrades on this year's cars with next year very much in mind. People will switch off the development, give the trophy to McLaren now. I think they've won the Constructors' Championship. But it is between these two drivers, I think, for the Drivers' Championship as well. And this is going to be fascinating between now and the checkered flag at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. So it's a breach of Article 55.15 of the sporting regulations. You must proceed without excessive acceleration or braking, until once the lights on the safety car have gone out effectively. So he was kind of, I suppose, banked rights. However, there's been a few questions in. Mob Candy J says, I think F1 FIA need to become consistent with their penalties. It's the FIA, really. I think all motorsports actually, but also that the punishment fits the crime, dude the person, why 10 seconds. But actually, this is the one that kind of grabbed my attention on this one from Sean Doyle. Will the FIA introduce a maximum braking PSI behind the safety car so that there's a definitive guideline for drivers? Because once those lights go out, effectively the leader becomes the person that controls the pack. So what do you think to that? I mean, it's all about consistency, Damon, but is he got a point there?
Yeah, I think on the whole subject of what happened, it strikes me there's a couple of interesting retrospective examples. I mean, what about Saudi Arabia in the race when Max brake tested before the safety car, before the DRS line with Lewis Hamilton? Do you remember that race, Saudi?
Yeah.
What year was that? 21? What's that? I can't remember. Yeah. And then there was also my victory in 94 at the British Grand Prix. I got that because because Michael Schumacher got a 10-second penalty for overtaking me and ignoring the black flag, actually, is what he got the penalty for. But he overtook me twice on the parade lap. Now, the job of the guy, the reason they have this rule, the guy who's on pole for a race leads everyone round, and he's got a responsibility to everyone behind him. They should try and keep up with him, and he should not try and, concertina everyone. And the same thing applies behind the safety car. And so I'm totally with David on this. I think it was a fair penalty, because what you cannot do, especially in the wet, is suddenly slam your brakes on unexpectedly with drivers right behind you. I mean, even if Max had avoided him further back down the line, they can't see what the guy at the front is doing. And suddenly people are hitting the brakes in the wet before a restart. And of course, they're anticipating hitting the throttle as well. So some people are waiting there right on tenterhooks, waiting for that opportunity to accelerate and get a good restart after the safety car's pulled in. So it's a responsibility on the lead driver not to do anything massively erratic like that. And so I think it was the right penalty. In this case, we don't know what would have happened if there hadn't been a safety car, because actually Oscar was 7 seconds in the lead, I think, something like that, when they brought it out. And so he lost his advantage, but we don't know how much Lando could have closed up on him as well, towards the end of that race. So we never saw it unfold. You can't predict. You can't say because he got a penalty, Lando won the race. And we don't know that. We don't know what would have happened in the second half of the race.
And co-chairing this year's Met Gala in a Harlem Renaissance. Inspired suit by Grace Wales Bond. Inspired countless Ferrari jacket purchases. Remember TikTok's motorcore era? And even kicked off a Puma Speedcat revival. Oh, and the fashion collab market is getting into gear, with brands like Louis Vuitton, Levi's, and Surprise. Lululemon cashing in on the motorsport's growing appeal. And now a new fashion fixation is revving up, Formula One wives and girlfriends. On August 6th, just days after the Hungarian Grand Prix, interest in WEG style reached an all-time high, according to Google Trends. Over on TikTok, fan accounts rack up likes and comments for identifying every WEG outfit detail. And with a little over 2 months left to go in the 2025 season and an ever-increasing fandom, up 12% since last year and 63% since 2018, the F1 WEG effect is officially off to the races. F1's fashion formula beyond the occasional celeb fashion flex. Like the fringe-covered oxblood racing jacket singer and actress Lisa wore to this year's Miami Grand Prix and that 190s photo of Claudia Schiffer sporting Chanel on the track in Monaco, there's not really an official F1 style code. Looks range from casual to formal, sometimes at the same Grand Prix, and depending on the weather and location, fashions change throughout the season. Plus, every team has its own merch, colors, and traditions to flaunt. So it's no surprise that the newest generation of fans are looking to the women who attend all, or at least most, of the races for inspiration. Thankfully, the racing WGs are a bit like F1 Spice Girls. There's one for every vibe. If you're more of a sartorial risk-taker, look no further than Lily Munihi. The pro golfer, who just so happens to also be Williams driver Alex Albon's girlfriend, has been known to wear a Tabi shoe or two and serve up head-to-toe Mio Mio. For those who love the classics, Carmen Montero Munt, the +1 of Mercedes driver George Russell, wears enough stripes, scarves, and matching sets to fill an entire La Dolce Vita capsule wardrobe. Rebecca Donaldson's model off-duty style, quite literally, she supports Williams' heartthrob Carlos Sainz, Jr., in between photoshoots, offers a blueprint for casually effortless dressing. And the trend-inclined find plenty to draw from when Red Bull driver Max Verstappen's partner Kelly Piquet steps out, especially in her stellar maternity fits. Verstappen had already built a lead he would never relinquish. Still, it was a valuable experience for the lightning-fast Leclerc. Charles Leclerc burst into Formula One like a rocket. The driver impressed in his debut season with Alfa Romeo in 2018, immediately earning a seat at Ferrari. Kimi Räikkönen stepped down to Alfa Romeo in the twilight of his career to make way for Leclerc, Ferrari's new prodigy. He was expected to help deliver the team's first constructors' title since 2008. Now, 7 seasons later, that goal remains unfulfilled. In fact, Leclerc has only had one genuine opportunity, in 2022, to be precise. Ferrari started strongly in Formula One's new era, until Max Verstappen and Red Bull lightened its car and seized the initiative. A rule change concerning the car's floor, introduced at the Belgian Grand Prix, also proved disastrous for Ferrari. But by then, the damage was done. Through a combination of driver errors and strategic missteps, Verstappen had already built a lead he would never relinquish. Still, it was a valuable experience for the lightning-fast Leclerc. Development until now, Leclerc has remained fairly composed about Ferrari needing time to return to the top. After 2022, there were significant changes in the team's management structure, notably the arrival of team principal Fred Vasseur, and gradual progress became apparent. To put things in perspective, Red Bull was dominant in 2023, but by the following year, McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes all had something to show. Leclerc won races in Monaco and Italy last season, thrilling the Tifosi in the process. Moreover, Ferrari battled McLaren for the constructors' title until the final race, a fight it narrowly lost. Still, it showed Ferrari had truly returned to the front, and with the driver pairing of Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, 2025 was supposed to bring ultimate success. That, however, has not materialized. Ferrari has yet to win a single Grand Prix this season, managing only a minor success with a sprint race victory in China, The SF-25 is nowhere near the pace of the dominant McLaren